Good morning, everyone. And what a beautiful morning after yesterday. Good morning. And good morning to everyone joining us on Zoom. No matter who you are, no matter whom you love, no matter where you are welcome here this morning. My name is Cheryl Storms. I'll be serving as your worship associate, leading worship along with our speaker, Mark Bernstein, and our music director, Bob Rowland. I'd like to thank the members of our tech team this morning, the members of our hospitality team, and our online host. Mark has been a member of UUCDC since 1994. He currently serves as Vice President of the Board of Trustees. Mark is a former full-time staff member with the Central East region of the UUA and continues to serve as adjunct staff, providing facilitation and consultation services, as well as sermons to UU congregations in both the Central East and Mid-America regions. If you're viewing us on Zoom, please remember that you can activate your closed captioning if that's helpful to you. And if you'd like to talk with other online participants after the service in a virtual coffee hour, just stay logged in and you'll be invited into a breakout room. Please rise in body or spirit and join us now in singing our hymn, When the Summer Sun is Shining. Please remain standing after the hymn for our covenant. Join us now in reciting our covenant together. The words will be on the screen. Enriched by our differences
and joined together in our search for meaning, we covenant with ourselves and each other to seek truth in a spirit of love, to strive for justice, and to serve others with a joyful heart.
Please be seated. Good morning.
Good morning.
I echo Cheryl's thanks for being here and for watching at home or wherever you are right now. The chalice lighting words are those of Sharon Wiley. The hours of day and night are in balance in honor of earth-centered traditions that celebrate this time of year. We observe that the flaming chalice holds the elements of the four directions: earth, air, fire, water. the lamp oil for earth, the air that feeds the flame, the fire we light, and the chalice itself, the cup, the symbol of water. We light our chalice and reflect on the balance we seek in our lives, the balance we seek in our hearts, the balance we seek in the world. And now please stay seated as we sing our centering song.
Each week, we gather in community, carrying what we carry. We may be feeling full of joy or full of sorrow. We honor whatever it is we're feeling, wherever we are, by dropping stones of joy or sorrow into our bowl. Or, if you're joining us online, by sharing in the chat. All are welcome to come forward and drop a stone. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing Spirit of Life and follow along with the movements.
This morning's reading are the words of Victoria Erickson. Half of me is filled with bursting words, and half of me is painfully shy. I crave solitude, yet also crave people. I want to pour life and love into everything, yet also nurture my self-care and go gently. I want to live within the rush of primal, intuitive decision, yet also wish to sit and contemplate. This is the messiness of life, that we all carry multitudes, so must sit with the shifts. We are complicated creatures, and ultimately, the balance comes from this understanding. The words of Victoria Erickson.
Now is the time in our service when we share our abundance. Because it is the second Sunday of the month, our offering today goes to our Share the Plate recipient for the month of July, which is the Domestic Abuse Project of Delaware County. The Domestic Abuse Project serves Delaware County victims of domestic violence. Their mission is to prevent domestic violence and reproductive coercion, empowering victims towards self-sufficiency by providing free confidential services. Annually, thousands of abuse survivors and their children are supported through the 24/7 hotline, emergency safe shelters, counseling, and legal help. I invite you to use the text to give function on your smartphone to make a donation to support this church and its work in the world. The number is on the screen.
The human body is an amazing machine, isn't it? Take the simple act of walking across the room, or in this case, the chancel. Let's say that the podium here is point A, and the fan over there is point B. I'm now going to walk from point A to point B. I'm fortunate I can do it without any help. How did I get from point A to point B without falling over or getting lost and somehow winding up at, I don't know, point C, maybe somewhere out in Fellowship Hall? The process of maintaining our balance and our positioning is a combination of complex sensory inputs and communication signals between our brain and various parts of our body. All of this is attributed to what is called the vestibular system, a sensory system that is responsible for providing our brain with information about motion, head position, and spatial orientation. Now, please pay attention here because this will be on the test. The vestibular system is also involved with motor functions that allow us to keep our balance, stabilize our head and body during movement, and maintain posture. Thus, the vestibular system, our new best friend, is essential for normal movement and equilibrium. Ironically enough, the vestibular system is located in the inner ear in a region known as the vestibular labyrinth. See what I did there? Labyrinth? Never mind. Among the functions of the vestibular system is to ensure constant communication between the sensory signals from the feet, the legs, and the spine to the brain. These muscle signals are sent to the brain and then back down to make adjustments in our body that will keep us upright and stable. A second function of the vestibular system is to help us perceive, for example, which way we are spinning on a merry-go-round, which way we are tilting on a boat, and simply which way is up. These perceptions contribute to our sense of equilibrium and keep us safe from falling. I think after all this, we can unequivocally say, God bless the vestibular system. Maintaining a balance in our day-to-day lives, while not as technical perhaps, can be just as complicated. As Victoria Erickson noted in the opening reading, we carry multitudes. We must sit with the shifts. Notice how I slow down when I read that. We are complicated creatures. And particularly when it comes to maintaining a balance between our lives as members of this congregation and our lives as participants in the rest of the world. Many people think that this is a zero-sum game, that if they devote too much time to their spiritual life, they will have to sacrifice their secular life, and vice versa. Achieving a balance begins with the understanding that one does not mean sacrificing the other, that there is room for it all. Like our vestibular system, messages are sent to our brain, only in this case, they come from our preferences and our experiences and our degree of commitment to a spiritual life. These messages determine how much we are drawn to life within our congregation versus our commitments to life outside the congregation. Now, realistically, there are compelling forces that pull us away from congregational life. The luxury of not leaving the house on a Sunday morning, particularly when we have gotten pretty used to it over these past few pandemic years. Many of us have family or work commitments that leave us little time for participation in congregational life, or so we believe. Or there may be reasons within the congregation itself that cause our spiritual life to be out of balance. Too much unresolved conflict, constant change, not enough change, not feeling a sense of belonging or a part of the church community, feeling uninspired by worship services or sermons therein. And particularly at this critical juncture in the history of our congregation, as we move on from 16 wonderful years of ministry from our beloved Reverend Peter to welcoming a new interim minister and beyond a new settled minister. Maintaining this balance is critically important and for some even more challenging. For some Unitarian Universalists, it may be that the lure of religion is just not strong enough. In 2014, the most recent year in which this study was conducted, the Pew Research Center released the results of what they called the U.S. Religious Landscape Study, a national survey that examined characteristics of several major and minor religions, including Unitarian Universalism. Here are some of their findings. More than 1/3 of those Unitarian Universalists who were surveyed indicated that religion was either not too important or not at all important in their lives. More than 1/3. Only about 1/4 of those UUs surveyed reported that they attend religious services at least once a week. Almost half seldom or never pray, and 3/4 of Unitarian Universalists in this study seldom or never participate in religious education groups. No wonder so many Unitarian Universalists are out of balance. If these statistics are still relevant 8 years later, and I have every confidence that they are, how do we help those who are out of balance regain equilibrium? How do we make congregational life more palatable, more compelling, more important in one's life? We start, I believe, by helping congregants to find their center of gravity. Their center of gravity. In the physical world, our center of gravity is right around our belly button region, about, 2 or 3 fingers right below the belly button at the midpoint of the body. This is the balance point of the body at rest. But the center of gravity needs to be supported. That support is the area that the center of gravity is resting on and supported by. If you're standing, for example, it's your feet that are supporting you. If you are walking, it is the ankles or the hips that support you and keep you upright. Maintaining our balance then physically is as simple as keeping our center of gravity over our base of support. And by the way, for those who might want to try walking on a tightrope, and you know who you are, I'm talking literally here, not metaphorically. Here's a tip. Stand up straight and lower your hips by bending your knees. This brings your center of gravity closer to the wire, thus enabling you to keep your bearings and better maintain your balance. You're welcome. As it relates to our congregational life, our center of gravity, our balance point, the core of our being, the way in which we keep our bearings is our personal mission statement. The reason we became Unitarian Universalists in the first place, and the tie that keeps us bound to this congregation. Management guru Stephen Covey wrote that your mission statement becomes your constitution, the solid expression of your vision and values. It allows you to connect with your own unique purpose and the profound satisfaction that comes from fulfilling it. Without a personal mission statement, without that center of gravity, without an understanding and an appreciation of our own unique purpose here in this congregation, we lose our balance, we stumble, we lose our way. But just as in the physical world, our center of gravity needs a base of support strong enough to support us. And where does that support come from? From the relationships that we have created, the friends we have made, the spiritual awakening that we have experienced, the inspiration and hope that we have received through participation in this congregational life. All these factors are the feet, the ankle, the hips, the spine that keep us upright, that keep us balanced. These are the things that help us to maintain a balance between our spiritual and our secular lives. And once we have achieved a balance, we need to maintain it. As Brad Manor, instructor in medicine at Harvard Medical School, wrote, balance can't be taken for granted past a certain age. It must be maintained. In the physical world, we engage in physical fitness and targeted exercises, or I should, to improve our balance and prevent falling as we age. Similarly, in our congregational world, we need to exercise and stimulate the mind and the heart through continued examination, reflection, and discussion of issues that challenge us to live better, that challenge us to be better. And if we do lose our balance and stumble, in the physical world, recovering and remaining upright requires muscle power, the ability to exert force in the opposite direction quickly. So too in our congregational lives, if we lose our balance and begin to stumble, we need to display what I will call spiritual power, to exert force in the opposite direction. And we get that power by reminding ourselves of why we became members of this faith tradition and why we stayed. We need to call during those times on our personal mission statement, our center of gravity, and we need to rely on other members of the congregation to call us back. Look, maintaining this spiritual secular balance is not easy. It requires a belief that it can be done and a commitment to making it happen. It's kind of like balancing the egg. Legend has it that on the spring and winter equinox, you can balance an egg in an upright position thanks to the Earth's position relative to the sun. I'm sure you have all heard this myth. Carol, am I right? The idea that an egg could balance on this day comes from the thought that since the sun and the moon are equidistant from the Earth, the pull of gravity is equalized, and therefore an egg is less likely to fall over. Well, according to Harry Keller, a leading expert on egg balancing, this is simply not true. Even were there such a solar influence, he writes, it would only work in one place at a time, and that place would be moving at a speed on the surface of the Earth of about 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, and you would not have time to balance your egg. Okay, Harry, I'll take your word for it. The point is this: balancing an egg only on the equinox is not true. Standing an egg on its end is something just about anyone can do any day of the year. It's not magic. The feat just requires the right egg, a proper foundation, a little practice, attention to detail, and a whole lot of patience. Balancing an egg is not always easy, but it can occur anytime. Adding greater balance to our lives may not always be simple either. Things may come forward to demand our attention, perhaps making it seem easier to put our attempts at balance aside for another time. But the rewards we receive from a healthy, spiritual, secular balance make the effort well worth it. Tom Van Gelder wrote, "We use our sense of balance to orient ourselves in the world, Keeping our spiritual life alive and balancing it with the demands of our day-to-day existence helps us to stay oriented, to stay grounded, to offer a greater perspective on what is important in our lives, both within and outside the walls of our congregation. So stay balanced, my friends, and pass me one of those eggs. So may it be." Please join in singing of our closing hymn, "Where My Free Spirit Onward Leads." Please rise in body or in spirit.
Well, our flame extinguished, so as we close our service, please join me in saying the words printed on your screen. Although we now extinguish our chalice flame, may I hold its warmth in our hearts in all the days ahead. Again, I would like to thank all who made today's worship possible, including the tech managers, Ruth, Don, Gil, and Skip, our hospitality team, Lori and Sharon, Bob Rowland, our music director, and Mark, our speaker, and all who helped to set up for our service today. As a reminder, if those online would like, you can wait for breakout rooms at the end of the service and participate in an online coffee hour.
For our closing benediction, if you are comfortable, grasp the hand of the person next to you, or otherwise just hold your hands up and down, like so, and we'll read these words together. For those who come here seeking life, may God
go with you. For those who come embracing life, may life return your affection. And for those who come to seek a path, may a way be found, the courage to take it step by step.
Step by step. Blessed be.
Ashe.